where you're listening in from. We do want to hear from you on 0700917917. Also, when you're checking in, go to our social media handle at Swahili Ports FM on Facebook, X, and also on Instagram. Good morning.
Morning. Robert Nzilo anasema good morning pale kutoka Machakos mjini kule. Asante sana. Athman Mwera anasema anatusikiliza kutoka Kwale Golini pale. Beka Plaza anasaidia kutoka Roma City Kiwandani hapa. Anasema kuna mtu wa Mtopanga hapa Mombasa na Karisa. Kauma Be kutoka Malindi Gongoni kule pia naye anatusikiliza. JJ Ozengo kutoka Mariakani. Asante sana. Lakini huyu wa Bamba anaitwa Steven Fondo, yeye pia anaisikiliza kutoka mji wa Kwale Takaongo Kilifi kule. Ni Danson Benson Karahi. Anasikiliza.
Thank you so much. Joining us in studio right now is His Excellency Sultan Hajiyev. He is the ambassador of the Republic of Azerbaijan to Kenya and permanent representative to the United Nations office in Nairobi. Good morning.
Good morning. Habari za asubuhi.
Nzuri sana. Uko salama?
Asante sana.
Uko salama? Niko salama.
Niko salama. Kabisa, bila shaka.
Kabisa, bila shaka.
Bila shaka.
Hana mashaka, yuko salama.
Karibu Mombasa.
Thank you so much, asante.
Yeah.
Thanks again.
Have you tried something that pretty much speaks Swahili culture?
Well, I think everybody here speaks Swahili culture in more than one way, but I'm still discovering, still exploring.
Yeah. Okay. Good morning. Now, I was listening to a conversation you had, an interview you had, and you said Kenya is a perfect choice. It's a natural choice in terms of partnership. What did you mean by that? What is it that we have to offer?
Well, it is a perfect choice indeed.
Yes.
Because I believe Kenya offers so many opportunities for partnership in so many areas. It's basically about exploring, identifying, and then harnessing those opportunities in the best way possible. And it goes really across the range. There are so many different areas, and of course there are a lot of economic opportunities at the same time. There are a lot of cultural opportunities. There are a lot of educational opportunities. Well, I mean, when it comes to tourism, when it comes to wildlife, I don't know where to start actually, but it is definitely the case. Kenya is a country of business opportunities, and that's the reason we are here. We're here to explore and hopefully build on some of those opportunities.
Yes, definitely. So Azerbaijan officially opened its embassy in Nairobi in 2023. Why was Kenya chosen as a strategic diplomatic hub to Azerbaijan in Africa?
I believe the answer to this question is partially in what I've said previously, and this is indeed a very important consideration. It's exactly because of the opportunities that Kenya has to offer. My country has decided that Nairobi is going to be one of the places where we will establish our permanent diplomatic presence. I really can refer to these are the slogans like Kenya is pride of Africa, Kenya is gates to Africa, African hub. But this is definitely the case, and this is exactly the engine or the reason this decision has been made. We started our activities here in 2023 indeed, and then basically last year we have established our embassy here officially. There was an inauguration attended by His Excellency Prime Cabinet Secretary and His Excellency Minister of Foreign Affairs of Azerbaijan. But our diplomatic relations were established actually a long time ago. We celebrated an anniversary last year, and we hope there are many more years to come.
Okay. You also serve as the permanent representative to the United Nations office in Nairobi. And so how does Nairobi's role as a global multilateral hub influence Azerbaijan's engagement with Africa?
Yes, this is also definitely among the considerations, defining or basically informing our presence here, our priorities and activities, because there is bilateral avenue of relations, and there is also multilateral one. I think importance of Kenya being the biggest UN office or headquarters in the south is in many ways self-explanatory, and two of the UN agencies with headquarters here in Nairobi are among Azerbaijan's biggest partners with UN Habitat, and this is a long-term partner of Azerbaijan. Our country is in fact one of the most active donors to UN Habitat, including financially. And later this year, we will be hosting the World Urban Forum 13, yet another UN agency housed, if I can put it this way, here in Nairobi is United Nations Environment Program, and Azerbaijan is very active on climate agenda. As you know, we hosted COP29, and these two issues are interlinked. Of course, that's in many ways among the key reasons of our presence here. And Nairobi is always playing an important role in terms of relations with those UN agencies. We all are aware of the so-called Nairobi spirit. That's the spirit of partnerships, that's the spirit of cooperations, that's the spirit of finding compromises that are serving the best interest of all the parties concerned. And I think despite many challenges, that spirit is still there, and it's still prevailing.
Yeah. So while talking about the spirit of partnership, what brings you to Mombasa?
Oh, well, I don't think there are many reasons. Let me put it this way, rephrasing a little bit. I don't think one needs to go far or to dig deep to find reasons to come to Mombasa, because it's always such a joy and fun in more than one way. Just like Kenya itself, Mombasa is a bit of a microcosm, offering so much in each and every way. However, I'm here on official mission. We've just started a project with National Museums of Kenya for our Azerbaijan International Development Agencies. That's our development aid arm, and we will be supporting both National Museum in Nairobi as well as Fort Jesus on some of the most urgent activities, on some of the most burning needs. And I'm here to explore and to discuss some of the details with our friends from the National Museums of Kenya. I've visited, actually Fort Jesus happened to be one of the very first historical sites in Kenya that I visited. This was back in 2023, if my memory is not failing me, soon after I have arrived to the country. Of course, I had little ideas that I will return to Fort Jesus again, but in a different capacity. But it's something that makes me very furaha, let's put it this way. So it's a good opportunity to partner with our Kenyan friends on preservation of historical heritage.
Okay. And when you look at Mombasa, we have a lot of youth hubs in Mombasa. And of course, one of them is Swahili Pot Hub Foundation as well. You have a youth innovation hub, or you're launching.
True.
Yes, a youth innovation hub.
True.
Could you talk to me about that, and what purpose does it intend to serve?
The Youth Innovation Hub that you have mentioned, and well, I'm glad you're so well informed about some of our activities. That's an joint effort by our International Development Agency and Kenyan Institute for Special Education. It was started last year, and it's currently fully functional. We have established it with AXAP and TIPNI. These are youth institutions. These are very active networks, bringing together youth, offering them some additional experience, opportunities, learning opportunities, and basically informing some of their decisions, prepping them better for the professional future. It's very engaging. It's very lively, and I had the pleasure of attending some of those sessions. And I think the true value, apart from offering space for young people to come, to get together, to discuss, it's also an opportunity to learn from those experienced who can offer some insights and who can answer some of the questions pretty much each and every young person is facing at some points in life when thinking of their future, when thinking of their careers. So we're definitely thrilled to be among the partners of that institution, and we're looking forward to building on this partnership further. And actually, my very first visit to Mombasa, going back in time, was on the occasion of the events that was organized here, and it was organized by Swahili Pot. I remember it was an event that I've attended at the invitation of Miss Charlene Ruto, and that was the first time. It was really funny. Yesterday, as I was working from one of the units of the Fort Jesus that we will be supporting, as we went towards the beach to this promenade area, I just looked around and I said, wait a second, I know this place. I've been here, but it looked different because that was before that barrier was built, basically. But that was my very first visit to Mombasa.
Yeah. And how do you think, I think first of all, I would like to know the Youth Innovation Hubs, where are they located? Where is it located, and how would youths in Kenya actually benefit from that?
It's physically located at the Kenyan Institute for Special Education,
Okay.
and we're very grateful for the generous partnership from KISE. They have offered us space. The space has been equipped and has been properly basically furnished by Azerbaijan under the very initiatives that I've mentioned before. And it's fully functional institution, and I think simply accessing either KISE or AXAP or TIPNI websites, you can basically get a lot of additional information. I'll be more than happy to provide some further details, but for that I'll need to find out more from those running and managing it, because we have supported it, but it's managed by Kenyans, because it's by Kenyans for Kenyans. That's
Yes.
how we say it.
Okay.
Okay. On matters collaboration, how do Azerbaijan and Kenya coordinate their votes at the UN, especially on the issues like AI, sports, and environment?
Azerbaijan and Kenya enjoy very efficient partnership under many international platforms, under many international organizations, and UN is one example to be mentioned, one example to be referred to. Kenya, known for its active role on climate change issues, on environmental protection issues, is a continuous, reliable partner to Azerbaijan, and I dare to aspire that it works both ways on many important agenda items. Yet another issue that we're working on, we're partnering on, is actually sustainable urban development. I've mentioned the WOOF 13 before, which is a key event to be taking place in May, attended by a number of countries basically, and we expect probably more than 25,000 people attending, including senior political leadership from a number of countries for the first time on the World Urban Forum. And by the way, the first World Urban Forum took place here in Nairobi. That's the birthplace of this initiative. But for the first time, we're expecting a special event to be organized at the level of senior political leadership, and I'm talking not about ministers only, but we're talking about heads of states and governments, because we believe urban development is important enough. So this is one of the areas of our partnership, and Kenya being very active on urban development, particularly through the affordable housing program, is a very important partner. I think you have a lot to share in terms of achievements made, and you have a lot of experience to share as well.
Yeah. And please share more about the event that is supposed to happen in Baku in May.
Okay.
And also how Kenya is going to be part of that.
Well, I mean, as I've mentioned, this is a World Urban Forum. This is the 13th session. This is a biennial event organized by UN Habitat.
Yes.
Co-organized rather, and of course the host countries change each time such event is taking place. This year we will be having the pleasure of hosting this event. I mean, I will have to repeat some of the things that I said, that this is the biggest UN international platform for urban development, but urban development is not simply about construction. It's a wide range of issues, including environmental protection and climate change, including transport development, including elements of inclusive education, accessibility, social protection. Basically, when we're talking about the city, we're talking about life in general. That's a microcosm of life. And so many issues are to be either resolved or, on the contrary, jeopardized pending respective decision on major urban centers development. So Kenya is traditionally active on this agenda item, and we are working closely with our Kenyan counterparts, just like with many, many others, including those from Africa. And we definitely believe that there is every reason for Kenya to be actively engaged, for Kenya to be sharing its experience, but also hearing or finding out what are the most recent prevailing trends, what are the most important issues that currently are defining sustainable urban development and wide range of the related decisions.
And what lessons do you think Azerbaijan has to learn from the from Kenya's affordable housing project? Because you've also mentioned that.
Well, I mean, speaking of the lessons, this is exactly the reason it's important for the countries to talk to each other. It's
Yes.
important for respective officials to share experience. There are best practices, there are lessons learned. Well, I cannot comment on the details of the Kenya's affordable housing program, but for me, it's a very strong sign of commitment of the country toward its citizens, and this is what always lays at the heart of any affordable housing, because even the title of the initiative is self-explanatory. Affordable housing for those who are otherwise facing serious challenges and difficulties in resolving the right for housing, which is among the fundamental, not just human rights, but also human needs, because everything starts with nyumbani. So basically, as long as your nyumbani is there and it's comfortable, it's resilient, it's safe,
Yeah.
I think this is one of the key preconditions for just having a life, successful life, and not having it, on the contrary, is a serious aggravating factor.
Yeah. Climate resilience is a growing priority in our country right now, and especially when you're looking at agriculture, water security, and even urban development, right? From Azerbaijan's perspective, what practical lessons can be shared with Kenya?
Well, I think one of the key findings, let's
Yes.
put it this way, that my country has made is importance of strongest possible national ownership, importance of making your decisions in a timely manner and persevering in implementing those decisions. Of course, it's always difficult, it's never easy, and it takes strong political will, it takes strong political leadership, it takes determination, and of course there is a need for financial resources. However, I'm speaking for my country, it's
Yes.
very important to manage your destiny on your own, and your international partners are there to help, which is very important, and it's always very plausible to avail yourself of additional support from external partners, but one should know that it's primarily you and you yourself who will be taking care of your own challenges and issues. So expecting someone to come in and to take care of it for you, in other words, waiting for someone to come and build that house that you will be living in, is not going to happen. You
Yeah.
have to build it yourself. I mean, someone can help a little bit, advise, offer some kind of support, which is perfectly fine.
Yes.
That's what international partnership is all about. But you are the builder, and you are the key holder.
Okay. And you've also been involved in post-conflict reconstruction and rehabilitation efforts. How important is climate-sensitive planning in rebuilding communities?
Well, of course it is. And thank you for mentioning a major post-conflict reconstruction rehabilitation program that my country is currently implementing following more than 30 years of basically very unfortunate and tragic conflict, which
Yes.
resulted in occupation of more than 20% of the territory of my country, as was certified by respective UN Security Council resolutions. We have liberated our lands, and we are now implementing a major multi-billion US dollars program, and we're talking about the dozens of billions of US dollars
Yeah.
reconstruction rehabilitation program, almost entirely funded by the government of Azerbaijan. So we use our internal resources, and this is a wide range of issues, starting from humanitarian demining and coming to construction in line with the most high-end construction standards, and environmental issues are among the top priorities. I actually had the honor of working at the special coordination center established under the office of my president when the program was starting, and as important as it was and remains for us to deliver expeditiously, I mean, there is a major element of urgency, but it was a strong decision, let's put it this way, a very clear decision coming from the very top, coming from my head of state, is that we are not going to sacrifice quality for the sake of speed, and all those activities, as urgent as they are, for us to be able to bring people back to their homes and to bring life back to those territories that were turned into graveyard, we have taken care of all the environmental standards. Moreover, let me emphasize that we've also been taking care, and we continue to do so, of the cultural heritage preservation related issues. And the last point I would like to mention in this regard is that as tragic and as painful as that conflict with neighboring Armenia, which occupied our territories, was, we're happy that we're now building peace, that we are now working very actively with our neighbors on restoring peace and confidence, and we really hope to leave this tragic page behind. One of the most important developments in this direction took place in August last year in Washington, and there's a strong engagement of our U.S. partners, where President of Azerbaijan, His Excellency Ilham Aliyev, and Prime Minister of Armenia, Mr. Nikol Pashinyan, we signed a very important document which gives us a lot of grounds or reasons to look into the future with strong optimism.
Yeah. I'm tempted to take you back to history, right?
Okay.
You've talked about liberation of your land. For those who do not know, take us
Okay.
back.
Sure. Well, as I mentioned, this is a very unfortunate episode of my country's contemporary history. The conflict started at the end of 80s when an Armenian population of one of the regions of Azerbaijan, to be more specifically, it was Nagorno-Karabakh region back then, they have basically decided that they want to become part of Armenia. And, well, quite naturally, Azerbaijan was strongly opposing such developments. Quite tragic developments happened since, which resulted in more than 1 million Azerbaijanis becoming refugees within their own countries, IDPs basically. They were kicked out. All the territories where Azerbaijani lived were completely destroyed because they were taken over by our, thank you so much, by our Armenian neighbors. So again, I just cannot emphasize how tragic this event was for everyone.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone gained anything because Armenians have proclaimed the so-called Republic of Artsakh in that part of Azerbaijan.
Yes.
And I've mentioned UN Security Council resolutions which were loud and clear. They were demanding withdrawal of illegal Armenian military forces from the territory of Azerbaijan. Unfortunately, those resolutions remained completely ignored for years and years and years. And having tried for 30 years and having tried in every way possible, Azerbaijan had no choice but to take care of implementing those resolutions on its own. To the best of my knowledge, we're the only country in the world that has implemented United Nations resolutions single-handedly. We are proud of what we have accomplished. We have liberated our lands. We have restored international law. We have made sure that our country is controlled by us. Of course, as I mentioned earlier, we really, really hope that those unfortunate pages are left behind and we will be able to move forward, closing this very, very dark chapter in relations in our region, in relations between the two nations. There isn't much to gain through war and through trying to change international borders by force. And what happened to us and to our neighbors and to the region in general is a kind of a very clear proof or a very strong testament that this is a kind of a no gain, no winners situation.
Yes.
Right now you mentioned the reconstruction and rehabilitation.
Yeah.
This is what we're focusing on. This is exactly what we hope to be the way forward. Regional partnership, cooperation, normal neighborhood. I think there is a lot for everyone to gain from this kind of scenario.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for sharing that. Now, we're looking at, let me bring it back home now, with Kenya expressing interest in hosting the Secretariat of the Global Plastic Treaty at UNEP in Nairobi. Why is this initiative important globally? And how does Azerbaijan's view Kenya's leadership on environmental governance?
Well, I think that the importance of this particular initiative is self-explanatory. Unfortunately, there are some serious challenges.
Yes.
And I'm not going to go into details because you probably know about some of the recent developments related to this particular avenue of international negotiations, about some, I don't want to say disappointing, but less than perfect results that 2025 has brought under this particular effort, under this particular dimension. I believe for Kenya, being traditionally known for its active role and engagement on the issues related to climate agenda and to the issues related to environmental protection, it's very well understandable why you put forward this initiative, why you are considering among the very serious candidates. Of course, each such issue needs to be discussed and looked at and coordinated carefully. But I mean, being active in so many other areas related to environment, climate change, environmental protection, wildlife protection for that matter, I believe Kenya is one of the very good examples of being strongly committed to this agenda. This is just another natural kind of part or natural chain. But I was mentioning it earlier, I believe these days such initiatives or such processes are facing a lot of various difficulties of various nature, of various origin. So it's important to work together to overcome such kind of obstacles.
Okay. What was the outcome of Azerbaijan hosting COP29?
Well, we believe that COP29 has made a number of important achievements in terms of the climate finance goals, in terms of, once again, reconfirming strong commitment from a number of international partners and parties, and this was organized under major time pressure because when Azerbaijan was defined as a host of COP29, we already had less time left to get ourselves prepared for these events that other host countries did. So we believe that in November 2024, Baku has proven importance of the process in general. Some very specific decisions have been made. Of course, no COP has ever been able to resolve everything, but we believe that we have delivered, and quite important developments have taken place, including under the Loss and Damage Fund. I've mentioned the new financial targets already, and I think that COP29 has set the stage for the COP30, and we partnered with our Brazilian counterparts quite closely in preparations for the COP of Belém, and we will be definitely continuing to do so with the next COP host, which happened to be Turkey, and Turkey is a very close country to Azerbaijan. It's a brotherly country. We are speaking more or less the same language even, basically. So there is a continuity, and as I said, even so nothing is ever perfect when it comes to such a large-scale international events, I think we can be proud of the results that we have delivered.
Yeah, and when it comes to, again, climate commitment, what do you think most countries must do when it comes to climate commitments? What do you think they should focus more on?
Well, I think there are two elements here.
Yeah.
First element is more of a kind of an upstream, should I say declarative, but it's very important to keep the point alive, particularly these days when climate change agenda is being questioned or is being brought in question, and we all know that this trend is currently continuing. I think it's very important to remain committed to the agenda in general. However, by simply remaining committed to the agenda at the political level, unless this is backed up by very practical decisions, we're not going to go far. So I really think that countries must be, how they say you have to be putting your money to where your mouth is, basically, right? So I think some practical steps, a true commitment to implementation, and keeping the spirit of working together on this particular issue alive. These are, to me at least, among the top priorities or among the preconditions for the overall effort to be successful.
Okay.
Climate-related disasters have costed Kenya 3 to 5% of their GDP each year. Which adaptation measures have Azerbaijan take to curb that, and what lessons should Kenya learn towards that?
It's interesting that you mentioned it, because earlier this week I was attending a special meeting of the Donors Partnership Forum, chaired by His Excellency Deputy President of Kenya, looking at the issues related to the drought impact. And I used to work for United Nations before, and one of my assignments when I worked at headquarters in New York was to coordinate the United Nations, World Bank, and EU post-drought needs assessment for Somalia. So I spent a year in Somalia. I have traveled the country. Of course, I'm not comparing challenges or realities of Somalia with those of Kenya, but some of the drivers, some of the key elements related to that disaster, as well as unfortunate repercussions, are the same, because we're talking about the same region, we're talking about the same neighborhood. Once again, I believe it's very important to exercise strong ownership, and I believe that's what I'm witnessing in Kenya these days. It's also proactive, and it's also done through dialogue among various partners, both various stakeholders, both national and international. And some of the solutions are there. It's just an issue of managing those solutions efficiently, because, well, in some parts of the world, you'll be talking about a very sophisticated water management and irrigation system. But here, even some basic efforts to utilize those resources or opportunities are probably the key. And to the best of my knowledge, this is exactly what the government of Kenya is currently looking at. And it's the same for us. I mean, you need to be talking to your citizens. You need to understand what are their expectations and needs. And then, of course, you need to align your government's resources and disaster response capacities, and also disaster preparedness and prevention capacities whenever it's possible, so that it's not like, reactive, that it must be proactive. And I really think this is one of the key preconditions of being successful in this kind of efforts.
You also have, let's say, over 28 years of experience in diplomacy and international service. What leadership lessons have guided your approach to addressing such issues?
It's a long journey,
Yeah.
and as I've mentioned, in my previous life, I used to work for United Nations, and some of the lessons or some of the things that I've seen, of course, are helping me in some ways in my current capacity.
Yes.
Of course, it's not the same. Working for international organization or representing your country is not exactly the same thing, but some of the features are similar. What I've seen is actually the biggest lesson, or something which I've actually referred to and I've mentioned more than once during our conversation, is importance of strong ownership. Of being very clear on what your country needs, because I've seen it on both sides. When working for international organizations, for some international partners, not for all of them, I don't want to generalize, but for some of them, having a national partner who is, let's say, pumzika kidogo, a bit relaxed, a bit detached, and he allows you to run your show, it's more comfortable. It's more kind of rahisi for you. It's easy for you. But when you have a very strong counterpart who is clearly aware of what the priorities are and is exercising his rights or his clear expectations, and is forcing you, I can even say, in a good way, of course, but is leaving you no choice but follow the agenda that he or she has chosen, it's more difficult, but from the point of view of the interest of the countries that you're working with, it's much more efficient. So switching to the other side, having worked, as I mentioned, as a special secretariat established in Azerbaijan to coordinate wide range of issues related to reconstruction and rehabilitation from the very beginning, it was my government's decision, my government's vision, my government's applied methodology, which has proven to be extremely efficient. If you look at the results of what my country has accomplished in the last, say, more or less 5 years since we started the program, it's not my opinion, and I'm not in the business of self-promoting when it comes to my country, even so all ambassadors should up to a certain extent. But according to the assessment of leading international experts in the field of post-conflict reconstruction rehabilitation, the program that we have in Azerbaijan is second to none. If we look at the scale, if we look at the time frame, and if we look at the resources mobilized, not to mention that these are resources of my country, not external resources, this is really impressive. And strong ownership and leadership was and remains among the key preconditions for success.
So when it comes to Azerbaijan, there is oil and gas, pretty much one of your major resources, right? When you look at a country, Kenya, we do have a lot of resources. How do you think Azerbaijan got to a space of tapping into these resources for the benefit of its people, and how can other countries borrow from that?
Well, that's a very interesting question indeed, and I'm just thinking about the best way to answer it without being repetitive. But there are many countries in the world with a lot of resources. And for me, having seen quite a number of them, I'm not going to mention anyone specifically. When someone says, oh, this is a country with such a huge potential, it's just great. Not necessarily. There are many cases when you have this potential, but it's just idle. It remains there. And for many reasons, neither the citizens, not the neighbors, not anyone else, can avail themselves of these resources. And when I'm talking about the neighbors, of course, I refer to regional partnership and cooperation. So it really takes strong commitment, vision, determination, and ability to deliver, because sometimes resources are blessing, but they sometimes could be a curse, because your resources are making you more exposed, are making you more vulnerable, and there are many countries where these very resources have caused a lot of trouble instead of becoming the source of wealth and prosperity and development. My country had its own share of trouble. Yes, we're famous for being oil and gas rich, and this is very deep in our blood, because even the first ever oil wells go back to Azerbaijan, and we're talking about the 19th century. We're talking about, 170 years back. And I can tell you that the Nobel brothers, everybody knows about the Nobel Peace Prize, right? But very few people know that the Nobel brothers have made their first fortune in Azerbaijan at the end of 19th, beginning of 20th century. We still have the Nobel's House Museum, and the first ever Nobel Prize was not named after Alfred Nobel. It was named after his brother Herbert Nobel. It had nothing to do with peace, because it was years and years later that Alfred Nobel bequeathed some $75 million back then. I even don't know how many billions it is right now, if you look at the kind of inflation and recalculate. But the first prize was named after Herbert Nobel, and it was offered to oil engineers in the Baku oil fields to encourage them to offer improvements in the systems. Oil and gas is important. Being rich in natural resources is important. But unless you are able to turn it into the source of prosperity and development of your country, nothing's going to come out of it. And I believe this is something that Azerbaijan has managed really, really well. Even me being here today, is a proof, or is a strong evidence that we've been able to use our resources efficiently. So having resolved some of the key domestic agenda items, we're now reaching out. We are broadening the horizon, and we are building partnerships in the areas where, I've mentioned it the other day, that back in 1994, 1995, anyone telling me Azerbaijan will ever open an embassy in Kenya, I would have immediately advised this person to seek medical help. Because this whole idea was just ain't gonna happen, right? But it's not easy. You have to put up a fight, not physical necessarily at all times, but it's not an easy journey. But if you're determined to succeed, it is possible.
Still, in one of your interviews, you also mentioned that the greatest resource to a country, it's not like a direct quote, but the greatest resource to a country is its people.
True.
Right?
True.
Where do you think leaders, especially those who are in positions of power, go wrong when it comes to using, or rather when it comes to their people?
Well, this is quite an interesting question, but let me rephrase it a little bit with your permission.
Go ahead.
I think it's best to talk when the leaders go right, and when they go right is when they build on the potential of their nation, when they identify the fortes, the strengths, and when they build their plans, or when they multiply their strategies through the capacities of the people. And if I can refer to Kenya, for example, these are some of the things that Kenyans are probably taking for granted, like your level of education. To me, it's really amazing to see how passionate Kenyans are continuously when it comes to education of their children. I know personally a lot of Kenyans who are willing to give up some of the most important things, for ordinary person, just to see their kids getting education, just to see their kids being at school, just to see their kids being, getting the diploma. And for them, this is a social lift. For them, this is a chance. And it's not always the case. It's something to be preserved. It's something to be cherished. So, and it's very important for all the parties concerned to listen to each other and to hear each other, to empower each other, to stand for each other. That, I think, is a very important element or component of successful development for any country.
Okay, and finally, what message would you like to leave with Kenyans about the future of Kenya and Azerbaijan relations and our shared responsibility in protecting the planet, probably?
Well, I really believe in the future of our partnership.
Yeah.
I really believe there are so many fursa mingi.
Yes.
So I really think that one of my favorite expressions, and I have not used it for quite some time, is what's it? Jina langu ni kuhimarisha uhusiano kati ya nchi zetu. So from this point of view, no, my Swahili is more than limited. I'm bado tayari.
You've done
Najaribu kujifunza lakini bado tayari.
Uko sawa.
Kwa sababu shughuli mingi.
Uko sawa.
Mingi kama kawaida wakati yote, but one is not precluding the other.
Yeah.
I really believe in the future of our partnership. I really believe there is a lot for us to share, and we do share it. I mean, even so, we are half a world away, and for some people to say Azerbaijanis and Kenyans are in some ways similar, some people may be kind of puzzled or surprised. But we share a lot in terms of values, like family values, like commitment, like being passionate about your country, loving your country, being very patriotic, being very open to partnerships, being very open to friendships. And, friendships are resulting in partnerships, and partnerships are bringing friendships. So
Yes.
I think this is a very nice circle. There is vicious circle, and there is probably very positive circle. So I think this is at the heart of some of the efforts that we are undertaking. For me, it's a huge honor, frankly speaking. It's a great honor for me to be the very first ambassador of my country to Kenya, to play my role, to contribute my 2 cents to setting the stage for this partnership. And I genuinely and sincerely remain optimistic looking into the future. And I'm convinced that there are many accomplishments into the future, and some of the initial steps, some of the initial developments will gradually evolve into fully functional, large-scale partnerships in the best interest of both countries.
Thank you so much for making time today.
Thank you for inviting me. Pleasure.
All right. We've been speaking to His Excellency Sultan Hajiyev. He is the ambassador of the Republic of Azerbaijan to Kenya and permanent representative to the United Nations office in Nairobi. We'll be right back. Good morning.